The hollow stones in the shadowed hills of Western Ireland, where the wind howls like a banshee and the mist clings to the earth like a shroud, lies an ancient ring of stones known as Cloch na Chamsire, the Stones of Time. The locals in the nearby village of Dunmorrow speak of it only in whispers, their voices trembling with a fear passed down through generations. They say the stones are older than the Celts themselves, carved by hands long forgotten, and that every winter solstice, when the longest night blankets the land, the hollows within the stones awaken, and someone vanishes. It began centuries ago, or so the tale goes. The Druids, cloaked in furs and crowned with holly, would gather at the ring to honor the dark gods of the earth. They offered blood, sometimes animal, sometimes human, to ensure the sun's return. But when Christianity crept into the valleys, the rituals faded, and the stones were left to crumble. Yet the disappearances never stopped. Every December 21st, without fail, someone would be drawn to the ring, and by morning they were gone, no body, no trace, only the wind keening through the hollowed stones. In the winter of 2024, Eamon O'Connell, a stubborn folklorist from Dublin, arrived in Dunmorrow with a notebook and a camera, determined to debunk the myth. The villagers warned him, old Mrs. Keane with her rosary clutched tight, the barman Declan who refused to meet his eyes, but Eamon laughed them off. Superstition, he called it, a story to keep children in line. He'd camp at the stones on the solstice, he said, and prove there was nothing to fear. The night of the solstice was bitter, the sky a void of stars swallowed by clouds. Eamon pitched his tent just outside the ring, the 7 jagged stones looming like sentinels in the gloom. Each was taller than a man, their surfaces pitted and worn, with hollows carved deep into their centers, dark, gaping maws that seemed to drink the faint light of his lantern. He scribbled notes about their alignment, how they framed the horizon where the sun would rise, if it ever did. The wind carried strange sounds, low moans, like voices trapped in the earth. Just the breeze, he muttered, though his hand shook as he wrote. At midnight, the air grew still. Eamon's watch beeped, marking the solstice's peak. He stepped into the ring, camera in hand, snapping photos of the stones. The hollows seemed deeper now, blacker, as if they stretched beyond the rock itself. He leaned closer to one, peering into its depths, and swore he saw movement, a flicker of shadow that wasn't his own. His breath caught, fogging in the frigid air, and then he heard it, a whisper, soft and guttural, rising from the stone. It wasn't English, nor Irish, but something older, a language of earth and blood. He stumbled back, heart pounding, and that's when the ground trembled. A low rumble, like the growl of some vast beast, shook the ring. The hollows pulsed, their edges rippling as if the stone had turned to liquid. From each one, tendrils of darkness unfurled, long, sinewy shapes that writhed like smoke made solid. Eamon dropped his camera and ran, but the tendrils were faster. They coiled around his legs, cold as ice and strong as iron, dragging him toward the largest stone. He screamed, clawing at the frozen earth, but the hollow yawned wider, a maw of endless night, and swallowed him whole. The next morning, the villagers found his tent empty. His camera lay shattered at the ring's edge, its last photo a blurred image of a hollow stone, something pale and human-like reaching from within. They didn't search for him. They knew better. Father Brennan blessed the sight from a safe distance, murmuring prayers against the old gods, but the wind only laughed. Months later, on March 31st, 2025, a hiker stumbled across Cloch na Chamsire. She found Eamon's notebook half buried in the mud, its pages brittle and stained. The final entry, scrawled in a frantic hand, read, "The hollows are alive. They take what the solstice demands. I hear them now, calling my name." She looked up at the stones, their hollows silent and still, and felt a chill that wasn't from the wind. She left quickly, never noticing the faint whisper that followed her down the hill, a voice that wasn't quite human, hungry for the next long night.